I'm watching the Rams offense versus what could be the best secondary in football right now. Quinyon Mitchell surging as Defensive Rookie of the Year since the bye week in Week 6. This defense has given up 2 touchdown passes and 9 explosive passes over 20 yards. This unit is playing absolutely spectacular, but they haven't seen a pass game that is diverse and complete as this one with the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, massive challenge for Sunday Night Football.
Could be a playoff preview. J-Mac, we got the Packers and the Niners. What are you watching for?
The running back position ain't dead. Josh Jacobs handing the ball off and letting him run through the middle of that 49ers defense. He's averaging 5.8 yards a carry when he's running in between those tackles. I think he's going to get the ball early and often. Can the 49ers get him on the ground?
And then, Harry, the weekend starts tonight. The Steelers and the Browns is a divisional showdown. What are you watching for tonight?
Russell Wilson, and can he be better in the red zone? Right now, he's 7 for 18 in the red zone, 39%. Also, facing this Cleveland Browns defense, I've seen some of the things that Taysom Hill was able to do against them last week. Can Arthur Smith and also Mike Tomlin have a nice package for who? Justin Fields, y'all.
Well, that'd be interesting. Fields came in for the one play last week and slid early in a moment that could wind up costing them. But let's get into that for a moment here, because here's how I viewed last weekend's game against the Ravens. I'll be honest. I thought the Ravens were going to prove to everyone that they, Baltimore, was a legit contender, and Pittsburgh had just been a great story, but it was going to start dwindling. Obviously, the opposite of that happened. Harry brings up the red zone offense for the Steelers. The offense in general, Dan, is it good enough for this team to make the Super Bowl?
No, not unless they fix their red zone issues. Right now, statistically, Russell's the worst red zone quarterback in football. His QBR is 8. That's out of 100. You're not going to win a Super Bowl playing that poorly in the red zone. And it's a little bit because everyone's understanding, okay, you're going to try to throw those jump balls to George Pickens. And if you look at the difference of these guys, this is where the quarterback change hasn't hit. It has hit in places, and we've talked about that. And this is where there's been the lack of the athleticism, the playmaking, the going and using your legs to go create. And defensive has started to say, okay, George Pickens, we're going to play off of you, and then Russell, we're not going to give you as many of those easy, essentially, those moon balls or those one-on-one throws. We're going to try to cover down and force Russell to hold the football and see if he can create, and he's not that creative player of old. I don't think it necessarily shows itself tonight, but I don't believe that this team is capable of winning a Super Bowl with an offense in the red zone as poor as the one that it is right now.
That's where we are, J-Mac. I would not have believed that we'd be having this conversation, but if they win tonight, a game in which they are fairly significantly favored, they can be 9-2. Are the Steelers a Super Bowl contender?
Absolutely, and I look at Dan's point, and he's making a great point, the red zone struggles. But we're in week 12 of the season. That's not to say that Russ hasn't played a ton of football as the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dan just talked about this. Earlier in the season, they were getting some man-to-man coverage when Russ first got in there. He found ways to get guys open. And we showed this one in the Baltimore Ravens game. They go cover 2. He should be checking his ball down to Najee Harris when he sees that. All right, goods go right to him. Russ holds on to the ball, trying to make something happen, forced to throw the ball away. But I look at what you just talked about. They have to figure out ways to run through the red zone, not putting it all on Russ to have to create to do something. But I do feel like this defense and what they've been able to do, Steelers scored 62 points off of turnovers. Their opponents in those games, 0. So we're talking about how good this defense is and what they can do for them. Yes, have to score in the red zone, but I think they have a shot.
So I agree with J-Mac. I do deem this team as a Super Bowl contender, number one, because of the way their defense plays. And you look at particularly last week what that linebacking group was able to do. Nick Herbert coming into the game in place of Alex Highsmith, making a difference, forcing a fumble. You look at Peyton Wilson. When Russell Wilson had that interception in the red zone, that defense had his back. And then we all know about, what T.J. Watt brings to the table as well as an outside linebacker. But for this team, they're top 10 in rushing, right? And for Russell Wilson, he is a guy that if he can make 5 to 6 throws a game, right? And we've seen one of them last week on the hitch and go to George Pickens. He was able to catch that on a double move. We see the seam balls to Darnell Washington. If you can find a way to be better in the red zone, why can't this team be a Super Bowl?
Yeah, okay, so yes, if you can find a way to be better in the red zone.
Every team has something.
But what, well, not scoring touchdowns for some, but what do we think is going to be this drastic flip of they're going to be better in the red zone? Guys, for us to sit here and to think that they're going to beat Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson kicking field goals is a joke.
Pause right there. Hold on.
Hold on.
I'll pause right there and I'll push back. What is one of the deficiencies of the Kansas City Chiefs offense?
Their
Has it
left
not been-
tackle.
But has it not been the red zone too this season?
No, it hasn't been bad. Ever since they got Hop, it's gotten a lot better. Ever since they got Hop, it's massively improved. They're not going to beat those teams. We
They
can't.
were 1 for 4 in the red zone versus Denver.
They
No
just beat
one-
the Ravens Sunday.
The
Dan. I
Ravens
watched
beat the Ravens.
without scoring a touchdown.
The Ravens beat the Ravens. The Ravens had 12 penalties. They had 3 turnovers. Their kicker was 1 for 3 from field goals. They're not going to play that style of game every week. The Ravens, I'm not discrediting Pittsburgh. Yes, their defense was awesome. I'll tip my hat to them. Do we expect the Ravens to play that poorly again? No, of
They
course
tend
not.
to against the
they have this
Steelers,
season.
though, right? I mean, the Steelers do that to people. Let me get Shefty in here.
Well,
how about the Steelers here?
I would also say this. Russell Wilson's only started a few games with this team. Didn't practice and train. How about it takes a little bit of time to get up to speed, to
Yes.
catch on, to get out? No?
I mean, Russell's played for a decade in the NFL as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we're almost in December, so yes, they are kind of who they are in the red zone right now. I
But
think.
by the way, they can win playing football the way they are. They can do that.
Okay, no question, Shefty. They can win, absolutely. Can they beat Buffalo? Can they beat Kansas City? Can they beat Lamar and the Ravens
I just
when
feel like
they're
we
playing their best?
Keep saying
so
that
well?
about them. They were going into the Commanders game. It's like, all right, to your point, they've been a feel-good story. Russ is coming there. He's turning it around. But can they beat the Commanders? They do that. Then they go against the Baltimore Ravens. You just said we fully expected the Ravens to take care of business. In a sin, they beat the Ravens. It's just every time it's something that they have
find
to
a
do.
way.
They continue to find a way.
Here's the degree to which what Dan is bringing up is actually a bigger question. Okay, Cindy, can we put up A23? Because